Hi, everybody. My name is Greg Katz, and welcome to Thursday's second half kickoff edition of WeAreSC.com's Inside the Trojans Huddle, where we do tell it like it is. Friends, Inside the Trojans Huddle is a game-like panel discussion that is posted on Tuesdays and Thursdays on WeAreSC.com, features WeAreSC columnists, staff writers, and historians. We first start off with the pregame show where we introduce our panel members for this edition of Inside the Trojans Huddle and then give you the latest USC football news. Let's meet Thursday's panelists. A WeAreSC columnist who writes WeAreSC.com's The Monday Morass, Yay or Nay, and Sunday Takeaways. In addition to his regular season football and basketball practice reports, he also hosts his own podcast show entitled Locked On USC. Marc Kulkin, a former William Jewell College defensive back and WeAreSC columnist, who writes the popular WeAreSC column Musings with Arledge and has his own weekly WeAreSC.com video show, Musings with Arledge. He's a graduate of the USC Law School. He's Chris Arledge. And a legendary Southern California sports columnist, a member of the USC Athletic Hall of Fame, and a USC graduate and author of two widely acclaimed books on USC football, Fight On, the colorful story of USC football, and Always Compete, an inside look at the Pete Carroll and the USC football juggernaut. We welcome again Steve Bisheff. And weekly WeAreSC columnist who writes Fridays, The Obvious and Not So Obvious, IMHO Sunday, and is an active member of the Football Writers Association of America. Your moderator and producer of Inside the Trojans Huddle, yours truly, Greg Katz. Before we kick off Thursday's edition of Inside the Trojans Huddle, here is some USC football news. The Trojans opened up a 34-point favorite to defeat Colorado in the Coliseum on Friday night. Game kicks off at 6:30 p.m. and will be telecast on FS1 nationally. And again, according to multiple media outlets, the kickoff time for the SC-UCLA game on Saturday, November 19th in the Rose Bowl will start at either 5 p.m. on Fox or 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. Those are Pacific times. The precise kickoff time is expected to be announced before next Monday. And as a courtesy reminder for those of you that are not a subscriber, member of WeAreSC.com, there is a limited time promotion, if you call it a limited time, going right on through the year, that for $10 you can access all the WeAreSC premium stories, analysis, and videos. It's a new member deal that doesn't expire, now get this, until August 31st, 2023. You might want to get on that. So with that, let's begin the second half kickoff. We begin Thursday's huddle with the second half kickoff, looking at Friday night's game with Colorado. Coming into this season and before the early firing of Buffs head coach Karl Dorrell, Buffaloes came into the Pac-12 with reasonable expectations, but that didn't last long as Dorrell was fired after an 0-5 start. Final loss, a 43-20 drubbing to Arizona. Colorado then named assistant coach Mike Sanford, the offensive coordinator, as interim head coach. And all he did was pick up the pieces, and the Buffs actually got a 20-13 overtime win at home against, you guessed it, Cal, as the students of Colorado ran on to Folsom Field to celebrate from that point on. However, the Buffaloes have now lost their last 3 games in a row. Originally returning from last season's Buff teams were 9 starters, 3 on offense, 5 on defense, and a kicker. Colorado is led by sophomore J.T. Shrout from local Santa Clarita at quarterback, freshman tailback Anthony Hankerson, and really not much on the offensive side of the ball. On defense, the Buffs are led by senior lineman Terrence Lang and Jalen Sami and senior corner Isaiah Lewis. A name to keep an eye on is sophomore safety Trevor Woods. Offensively, the Buffs ranked last both in total Pac-12 offense and defense. However, before we completely rule out the Buffs, again, a reminder, their lone win was that overtime win against Cal, which gave the Trojans problems last Saturday. So panel, here we are against the lowly Buffs. What do you see? How we'll be playing on Friday night will affect the Trojans and the attendance. What would you tell the Trojans to get them inspired to win this game? Marc, you're the head coach. What do you tell your team against Colorado?
I tell them to go do their job. Tell them to stop being frustrated, stop being complacent by beating teams everyone anticipates you beating, and beat them like you should. Look, I anticipated USC to, eventually pull away and blow out Arizona. That didn't happen. I said the same thing against Cal. It looked like that was going to happen, and then the fourth quarter arrived. So that never came to fruition. If you can't make that happen against this team at home, knowing you've got your two biggest rivals ahead of you the following 2 weeks, I don't know if there's anything you can say to this team. The bottom line is this. When you're, and I know we don't like, point spreads aren't the end all be all, but when you're a 5 touchdown favorite, you need to be ahead by 28 points at halftime. So you can blow these teams out so you can get your backup some significant quality playing time so that when they are inserted in the game, when it matters, they're prepared to make a tackle. They're not confused, deciding who's supposed to be covering whom or biting on a pump fake or whatever the case might be. This is a scrimmage game, plain and simple. And they've got to handle it like a scrimmage game and go kick the crap out of the walk-ons that they're going to be playing against. That's not disrespect. I'm not trying to disrespect Colorado. They have a fighting chance. We saw what can happen to USC when they don't take a team seriously. Pete Carroll remembers that back in 2007. So you lose to Colorado, Pete Carroll can now sit back and say, you know what? I don't have the most embarrassing loss in USC history because this team is actually worse than that Stanford team. That's how bad of a loss this would be. Now, will playing on a Friday night affect the crowd? Absolutely. Everybody knows they're playing a bad team. They're coming off a lackluster performance on homecoming where they had allegedly just under 65,000. I anticipate 50,000 or less for a Friday night game against a really underperforming Colorado Buffalo team. How's that?
Well, one thing to keep in mind, it is Veterans Day, so there probably is an opportunity for people if they want to come to the Coliseum. But I certainly see where your point. Steve, what do you think? You're the coach. What are you going to tell them?
Well, you know what I think? I think I'd tell them to go out and have fun. Focus, stay focused. The game is meaningful, but we should win this game. We play our game. It should not be a problem, but you have to stay focused, do your job, but enjoy it. Have fun. It's a home game. It's a night game. Enjoy yourselves. You're good enough to win this game. If you stay focused and don't turn it over, it should be no problem. That's all you can do at this point, I think. You can't have any magic words that are going to make the defense one of the best in the country suddenly. But you're playing a bad team. If you play your game, you're going to win the game. Enjoy it. That's what I'd say.
Chris, what do you tell the team?
Tell my defense that I'm looking for 11 guys who are going to do their assignments and play like their hair is on fire, because I need 11 guys that can beat Notre Dame and UCLA. And this is somebody's opportunity to prove to me that they can play, because for the last few weeks they haven't shown that they can. So if you want to play in those last 2 games, if you want to have a chance to play in the type of games that you come to USC to play in, you better show it this week against Colorado, because I'm tired of watching what I've seen from you guys the last few weeks. That's what I'm telling the defense. The offense, I'm telling the offense to be smart. Look, you don't have to throw downfield on 3rd and 8. Get first downs, keep the chains moving. I want to have mistake-free football, drive after drive after drive, because if you play mistake-free football, you're going to score every possession. That's what I'm telling the offense. The attendance will be lousy because Colorado's terrible. And look, don't kid yourself. Colorado's terrible. I mean, they're terrible offensively. They're terrible defensively. They're terrible in all respects. It's a horrible football team. USC is not going to lose to Colorado. The question is whether USC is actually going to play the way they're capable of. And even with the issues that I mentioned earlier, where I see a talent deficit on the front 7 on defense, even missing the 2 top receivers, who knows if they come back. The guys that USC will have on the field are dramatically better than the guys that Colorado will have on the field. I'd be surprised if they didn't come out and play hard and play well. I mean, I really would after last week's embarrassment.
All right, I would turn to the team. I've been in that position before and say, okay, you got one game to get your act together before we play the big boys. I think you're one of the big boys, but you need to go out there and send a message to the future opponents that we are one of the top 10 teams in the country. I think we all agree it wasn't acceptable last week. It was an embarrassment. We need to do a better job of coaching. We need to do a better job of playing. But more importantly, we need to play with, as Chris mentioned, your hair on fire. You got to show that you love this game. This is the last Pac-12 game you're going to play in the Coliseum this season. Go out there and let it all hang out. Don't even worry about the score. I'm not going to hold it down. I'm going to go after it. And I think the players will respond to it because I think the players, as I said early, I think on Tuesday's show, I think they're in a lull right now. They don't know quite what to make of themselves. They're lacking, I think, confidence in a lot of areas on the defensive side, definitely. And I would say, you know what? Just go out there. Winning is fun. Okay, that's what fun is, winning. That's why they have a scoreboard. If it's not important, don't keep score. So I think that SC is going to come out. They're going to play their ass off. They're going to play at least as well as they can play, knowing that UCLA is the next week. I think when we have our shows next week, we're going to really devote it to the UCLA game completely. I think that there's just so much action that's going to be played, and you know what? You're just going to have to go out there and do it. You just can't talk about it. You got to do it. So with that, we're going to go into the torch lighting ceremony, a tradition between the third and the fourth quarter. I'm going to light up our Coliseum torch right here in anticipation of a new segment that we have, which is called the Big 10, where we ask the panel 10 questions, basically yes or no, or fill in your choice. And no discussion is really needed, maybe a brief comment at the most. So with that in mind, we're ready to go. So here is the 10 questions. We'll begin. This will be the order: Chris, Mark, Steve, and myself. Question 1. Should Lincoln Riley have played backup quarterback Miller Moss more than he has this season? Yes or no, Chris Arledge?
No, it would be nice, but the defense has to stop somebody for that to happen.
Marc Kulkin.
Exactly. Yes, he should have, but that's more on USC's defense hating Miller Moss than anything else. So,
Steve Bisheff.
No, I don't think they could. The games were still too close. The defense is too miserable, and you had to stay with Caleb. But I think this week would be a good week to hopefully maybe see Moss play the fourth quarter and make sure Caleb doesn't get hurt.
Yes, I would have liked to have seen him play more, but I understand why he didn't. It'd be my hope that he does play at least in the fourth quarter, because if something happened to Caleb against UCLA, you would definitely want Miller Moss to have some playing time before he sets on the field. All right, question 2. Should the USC band be relocated behind the team bench? Yes or no, Chris?
No.
yes.
No.
Yes. So we have a difference of opinion there. Question 3, Ronnie Lott or Marcus Allen? Mark.
To play what position?
You can interpret it any way you want. Ronnie Lott or Marcus Allen?
I don't like these splitting of the baby questions. It doesn't help the situation at all. Marcus Allen. I know he can play quarterback and running back.
Steve.
I love Ronnie Lott, but it has to be Marcus Allen. I believe he's the best all-around football player in the history of the school.
Wow. Chris Arledge.
No, it's Ronnie Lott. Ronnie Lott is the best ever to play at his position, college and NFL. Marcus Allen is fantastic, but he is not.
My choice, drum roll, Ronnie Lott. He is the best of the best.
Wow.
I think if Ronnie Lott, if they would ever pick a Heisman Trophy winner outside of a running back, wide receiver, or a quarterback, he definitely should have been a Heisman Trophy winner. All right, question 4. Should the Trojans be running the ball more than they have through 9 games? I think we kind of know the answer, but for formality, Chris, yes or no?
Yes.
Mark.
Hell yes.
All right. Steve.
Major, yes.
I can't improve upon that. The answer is yes. All right. Question 5. Marv Goo or Ed Ogeron? Chris.
Marv Goo is before my time. I love Ed, so I'm going Coach O.
Mark.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I could have watched Marv Goo breathe some fire and brimstone. I've watched Ed in action. Coach O. Yeah, yeah.
All right, Steve, you've seen both of them.
I'm old enough to watch both, and it's easily Marv Goo. He's the most inspirational coach of the generation at SC.
All right. My decision between Marv Goo and Ed Ogeron, I saw them both up close and personal for a long time. It's Marv Goo. Went to USC. He would do anything to get SC to win. Anything. And Ogeron was fantastic. But Goo was another level up, believe me, if you would have saw it. All right, question 6. Will the Trojans recruiting class of 2023 be a top 5 class? Yes or no? Chris.
No.
Mark.
Yes, and it doesn't matter. 5. The difference between 5 and 10 is negligible.
Okay. Steve.
I hope so.
I say no, but it will be definitely, if things go according to play, definitely a contender of getting close to that.
Let's hope
All right.
there's lots of defensive players.
Yep. Question 7. This was kind of a difficult one. Tusk or all I do is win? Chris.
That's not tough at all. Tusk, easy.
Mark.
UCLA sucks. Why is this even a question right now?
Yeah.
So I can elicit the response that you just gave me.
Okay.
Steve.
Tusk.
And I will pick Tusk as well. I used to drive my ex-wife nuts when they would say UCLA sucks. Question 8. This is definitely apropos. UCLA or Notre Dame? Chris.
Notre Dame, USC's real football rival.
Mark.
Notre Dame.
Steve.
UCLA.
And myself, I'm taking a 1-year extension on this for this year. UCLA. Question 9. ESPN Game Day or Fox Big Noon pregame show? Choice. Chris.
Give me ESPN Game Day, but only if Lee Corso is there.
All right. Mark.
Yeah, give me Fox because Lee Corso is still with ESPN.
Come on.
I'll take Game Day. I think mainly because of Kirk Herbstreit. I think he's the best college football analyst around.
And I'm going to take ESPN Game Day. They're to me, they're a little bit more serious about it, bring a little bit more credibility of it. And, Corso is a personality that's just amusing to me. So he seems like a good guy, but I'm taking ESPN Game Day. And finally, question 10, kickoffs, 12:30 p.m., 4 p.m., or 5 p.m. Chris.
I don't see a big difference between 4 and 5, but it has to be one of the two. 12:30 is too early. 7:30 is much too late.
Okay. Mark?
4:30.
4:30. There you go. Steve?
12:30. I'm old school. I love afternoon college football.
All right. 12:30 is too early for me. I remember the days of 1:30 p.m. games, which is just about right. 4 or 5 p.m., I would go with 4 p.m. myself, strictly from a writer's point of view. The dagger to me, and I didn't put this in the question, was 7:30. And when I just saw that SC UCLA might be at 7:30, I was about ready to pass out again. I mean, how many games in a row are we going to go 6:30 or 7:30 at night? So,
There's no way TV is going to choose two top 10 teams that are closer to top 5, possibly, for a 7:30 p.m. kickoff, so the rest of the country doesn't watch it. No freaking way that happens.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to say that they will put Oregon on at 5 because Oregon will be closer to the top 4 spots in the college football rankings and would have more national appeal in the sense that their result against Utah could have a big impact for everybody else. And I see that 7:30 is, USC, UCLA, West Coast, maybe doesn't impact the rest of the country. It would depend on, of course, what happens in the Utah-Oregon game, but an interesting concept. So with that, we go to the fourth quarter, college football playoff rankings. Panel, the college football playoffs came out this week again with their second poll, and there was some movement. How would you rate your own college football playoff top 10 teams at this point? Rank your top 10. Chris, who's your top 10? And is there any conceivable way the Trojans could back their way into the 4th spot in the college football playoffs? Say you.
So I don't want to give you all 10 teams. I'll say this. I think that Georgia's the clear number 1. I think that Ohio State probably is the number 2 team in the country, although I don't know that their schedule has allowed them to prove that. I would have Michigan number 3. And number 4, I think, is actually a toss-up right now. I'm not convinced that TCU is either that good or is likely to go undefeated, but I saw what happened to Tennessee. I can't put them there. So I think that's a good segue into the second part. Can USC get their way into the 4th spot? Without question. If they beat UCLA, they beat Notre Dame, and then win the Pac-12 championship, probably against Oregon. If they do that, their resume will be better than one-loss Clemson. Their resume will be better than a one-loss Big Ten team, and I think they're getting in. But running that 3-game gauntlet will not be easy.
All righty. Marc Kulkin.
Yeah, I'm going to look at the AP poll to decide, since we don't have the new CFP up yet. But Georgia definitely number 1. I don't think I have any problem sticking Ohio State in number 2, just because they're beating everybody the way they should be beating everybody. They're an offensive identity team, and they are they're taking their teams behind the woodshed. Granted, Northwestern held them to 21 points, but I think that was more Mother Nature than anything else. And, I'm okay with Michigan at 3, TCU at 4. After that, throw everybody in a fishbowl. I don't think Tennessee's number 5. I'll tell you that right now. It was funny on the big noon kickoff show on Fox, you had Urban Meyer, who was just, blowing wind up, Tennessee's skirt as far as their offense is concerned, saying, yeah, I had to call my buddies to find out, somebody to explain it to me. I've never seen anything like that before. Deep into the third quarter, they're sitting on 2 field goals. So I think Tennessee got exposed. Top 4 is what it is. You can throw Oregon at 5, maybe. USC, UCLA, Alabama, somewhere in there. Figure it out. Alabama, LSU, they're not playoff teams. I don't know why they're still that high in the ranking, but it is what it is.
All right. Steve-O?
Yeah, I think Georgia's the clear number 1 and has the best defense in the country, and defense still wins championships. I'd have Ohio State 2nd, Michigan 3rd, TCU. I don't think Tennessee drops that far. I'd put Tennessee 5, Oregon 6, LSU 7. Then I'm going to upset some people. I think Alabama would have to rank ahead of SC and UCLA, just because I can't imagine Bryce Young against these defenses. I think he'd chew them up and spit them out, I think. And then again, upsetting some folks, I'd put UCLA 9th and USC 10th. I think I've watched UCLA and obviously USC both extensively. And right now, today, I think UCLA is a slightly better team.
All right. So do you think SC can figure a way to get into the Final Four, Steve?
I think there's a way, but I think it takes a lot of losing by TCUs and Oregon and maybe LSU, Tennessee. A
Man,
lot
you're
of,
giving LSU a lot of credit. A lot of credit for that LSU team, Steve.
well, we'll see.
Trying to figure that one out.
I like the
A
coach.
two-loss team hasn't made the playoff yet, and LSU is not going to finish with 2 losses.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to worry about them.
But it's an SEC team. We'll see.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3. I'm not sold on TCU, but the pecking order is such that they'll get to 4. They still have to play, I think, Baylor and Texas, I believe.
Yeah, they're playing at Texas this week.
Yeah. Tennessee, I don't really like, but I'm putting it 5. I don't even really have a lot of confidence in it. I have Oregon, and then I'll give LSU credit. I just look at the defenses of LSU and Alabama, which I think are much better than USC's. And I think they have firepower. I think what was amazing is that you look at all these Southern California former high school quarterbacks that are leading these teams in the top 10. It's really amazing. I'm going to pick UCLA right now. I think they're the better team than at USC. I'm hopefully wrong, but I would put SC as my number 10, UCLA at number 9. So with that being said, I think they could get to the Final Four, but it would take a series of wins and losses and upsets and what have you. So let's move on and finish this up with overtime, our predictions. We're going to actually start off with Friday night's game. Colorado 1-5, Pac-12, 1-8 overall at USC, 6-1, Pac-12, 8-1, 6:30 p.m. on FS1. USC favored by 34 points. Mark, your call on this game?
Yeah, USC's going to win.
Okay. Steve?
Yeah, I think they'll win. I think this will finally be the one game that we don't have to sit on the edge of our seats in the fourth quarter. I'd call it 48-14.
All right. Chris?
Yeah, I think Steve scores about right. USC is a little bit embarrassed. They're going to spend all week getting chewed out by their coaches and hearing people talk about how bad their defense is. They will take it to a terrible Colorado team.
And I agree with Chris. I think they'll remind everyone it is on national television. Do you want to go out and embarrass yourself again? And I think they'll have a reason to play because the next game is UCLA, so they'll want to be on point. So that was an easy one. So let's go to Saturday, November 12th. ASU 2-4, Pac-12, 3-6 overall at Washington State, 2-4 Pac-12, 5-4 overall, 12:30 p.m. Pac-12 networks, Washington State's favored. Arizona State's favored by 8.5 points. Mark?
You said Arizona State's favored by 8.5?
What did I have here? Yeah, Washington State is favored.
Washington, yeah. I'm taking Wazoo at home.
Okay. Steve?
Same. I take Washington State and Spokane.
Chris?
Yeah, me too, but I think 8.5 is a lot. I'm not sure about that.
I will take Washington State. I think Washington State's kind of a really interesting team. Okay, number 24, Washington, 4-2, Pac-12, 7-2 overall at number 6, Oregon, 6-0 Pac-12, 8-1 overall, 4 p.m. on Fox. Oregon is favored by 13 points. What do you say, Steve?
In Seattle, it might have been close. In Eugene, it won't be. I think Oregon wins convincingly.
Chris?
Yeah, I think Oregon wins because the game's in Autzen, but I got to say, Oregon may be the most overrated team in the country. They have one win of quality this year, and that was because UCLA's quarterback is a head case and he was playing on the road. Other than that, they haven't beaten anybody of note. All of the good teams on their schedule are still to go. Washington, Utah, and Oregon State, and they don't play USC. I don't understand why everybody is convinced that Oregon's a great football team. I don't think they are. but they do have a great home field advantage. That will be enough this week.
All right, Mark.
Yeah, I'm wondering if any of that Dan Lanning chatter has entered the locker room. Could that play a role? Can Washington sneak in there and find an Oregon team that's a little, I don't know, maybe have their minds elsewhere, at least the coaching staff?
All right.
I got Oregon winning, but I can see an up. I don't know if it's an upset. These guys don't like each other. It's a rivalry game.
All right, I'm going to take Oregon. I think Bo Nix is playing as well as he can play, and that's going to spell doom at Autzen Stadium for Washington. All right, Cal 1-5, Pac-12 3-6 overall at Oregon State 3-3, Pac-12 6-3 overall. 6 p.m. Pac-12 Network. Oregon State favored by 10.5 points. Mark, what do you think?
I'm actually going to take Cal in the upset on this one.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Steve?
No, I think Oregon State's the better team, and I go back to my little theory of a team that plays over its head and barely loses the previous week really has a hard time getting back up to win the next week. So give me Oregon State easy.
All right, Chris?
Mark really threw me for a loop because every time Mark comes out with one of those crazy upset picks and I laugh at him, it turns out he's right. But I don't see any way in the world Cal's going to win that game. Oregon State is a much better team and they're playing at home. I think they win big.
And I'm going to pick Oregon State. I think they will win big too, because I that's how much respect I have for Jonathan Smith. That he
I think that loss to Washington sucked the life out of him. I got to be honest with you. That's why I went this direction.
Okay.
That was a tough loss that they suffered.
Tough loss, but I think the fact that they're 6-3 overall, they could be 7-3, headed to a bowl game of maybe more magnitude might be something they could buy into. All right, Stanford 1-6, Pac-12 3-6 overall at number 13. Utah 5-1, Pac-12 7-2 overall. 7 p.m. ESPN. Number 13, Utah favored by 22.5 points. Mark, who are you picking?
Oh, Utah's going to roll Stanford. They're going to take those trees and just roll them out.
Steve?
Utah on a runaway.
Chris?
Yeah, Stanford is really, really bad. Utah big, as much as they want.
And I agree. I think Utah was going to take them to the woodshed. All right, our last Pac-12 pick. Arizona 1-5, Pac-12 3-6 overall. At number 9, UCLA 5-1, Pac-12 8-1 overall. 7:30 p.m. on Fox. Number 9, UCLA is favored by 17.5 points. Mark, who wins it?
As much as I want to say trap game, UCLA is not going to look past this one. They know what's coming up in week 10, or excuse me, week 11. So UCLA.
Steve?
UCLA, just a better team.
Chris?
UCLA, and it won't be close.
It won't be close. I think UCLA is going to want to send a message to USC, and they're all fired up. So sorry, Arizona. Not going to be a good night for you.
I think Arizona's got enough offensively to play. That's all I'm going to say.
Now, wait a minute. That's all you're going to say?
All I'm going to say. We've all been saying how crappy UCLA's defense is, right? Are they great at home, but crappy everywhere else?
No, but they're going to score every time they touch the ball.
Absolutely. I think Arizona's going to score. That's why I came from that direction.
So it'll be entertaining, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. And now our weekly Georgia Southern prediction presented by the unofficial Clay Helton fan club. Last week, Clay Helton's Georgia Southern teams lost at home to South Alabama 38-31. This week, Helton's Georgia Southern Eagles, 2-3 in the Sun Belt, 5-4 overall, travel to Lafayette, Louisiana to play the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. 2-4 in the Sun Belt, 4-5 overall, 10:30 p.m. ESPNU. Louisiana is favored by 3 points. Mark, is Coach Helton going to come back with a victory?
Man. This is usually the time of year where things kind of settle in. So I'm going to it's going to be a tough loss for the Fighting Heltons down there in Lafayette.
Okay. Steve?
Let's be honest, we haven't seen much of either team. I'd like to see Clay win one, but I'd have to pick Louisiana.
All right. Chris, I know you have a thought on this.
I've always been a big believer in Clay Helton, especially on the road. I'm picking Georgia Southern.
All right. And I am going to pick Louisiana because I think at the end of the first 10 games, Clay will be his 5-5 self. So, by the way, Louisiana, again, is favored by 3 points. So, all right. Well, that'll do it for Thursday's edition of Inside the Trojans Huddle. Reminder that next Tuesday we'll grade the weekend's game with Colorado, and we will really get into UCLA. It's definitely a 2-day affair and getting through memories and predictions and so on and so forth. And we will answer some viewer and listener questions, hopefully about SC UCLA. So until then, big thank you again to our panelists, Marc Kulkin, Chris Arledge, Steve Bisheff, and a special thank you to all of you for watching or listening to Inside the Trojans Huddle. Have a great weekend. Go Trojans. Till next Tuesday, this is your moderator, Greg Katz, saying, fight on, everybody.